Hello, yogis. My name is Daniel. This is Daniel Lee Yoga. Thank you for joining me for practice. It is Monday evening, it's Memorial Day, and I thought it would be fitting we could have class at the beach. It seems like a lot of the beaches are starting to open up, and for those of us that are not able to go to the beach in person, here we are out on the beach today doing our yoga. I have the waves playing in the background. Hopefully they're not too loud and you can still hear me. But if you ever have any trouble, just type me in the chat and just let me know and I can turn that volume down a little bit. Today we have a 60-minute Vinyasa fundamental focus class. And in our fundamental classes that we typically have on Mondays, we usually take a little bit more time to break down the poses and really reinforce the key component parts and actions that are required to move into more advanced poses. So, if this is your first time doing yoga, or even if you're more advanced, you'll definitely get something out of practice today. I have Coney and Oliver with me today. Coney likes to dig in the sand over there sometimes, so we'll have to say hi to him every now and then just to let him know he's part of our practice. So this week we are working on core focus practices, core focus exercise, including the abdominal region and really lots of twists to engage the outside edges of our abdominals, the transverse, and lots of different core muscles in here. And it's really beneficial to take some time to focus on this area because, as the name says, it's the core. It's kind of like central to the rest of your. Come here, come here. It's central to um, really easing any issues or any strain in the low back that we want. We're really going to work on lengthening this abdominal region. And through that, it'll allow us to prepare ourselves for more advanced postures, especially like arm balances. The core is um, really necessary to have strength there in order to move into your more advanced arm balances. So we should have some fun today. You will need a block if you have one. It's not totally necessary, but if you do have it, just keep it nearby. Place it up at the top of your mat. As far as that, no other strap or anything else is used today. Whatever other props you may have, you can have them close by. If you don't have a block, you can always use like a firm pillow or something like that. That might help as well. So I think the stream looks good. I think we're all set to go. So thanks for joining. Let's go ahead and get started. Meet me on your back. Just have your legs extended straight out and your arms down to your side. We'll start here for a moment. Let your knees and your feet fall out to the side. And now place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. Just begin to deepen your breathing here. And start to notice how when you breathe in, your belly and chest may rise. And as you breathe out, belly and chest contract. Just take this time to transition and leave behind whatever was going on prior to practice today. And don't worry about whatever you have planned this evening or later in the week. We're here for this hour together on your mat. Take a couple more deep inhales here. Now gently release both arms down to the sides, palms face up. Gently bend your knees into your chest with your feet off the mat. Gently hug your arms around your shins or your thighs. And gently rock from side to side. Beginning to wake up that low back. Your knees may only move to the side a little bit, They're not touching the ground, just gently rock from side to side here. And come back to stillness with both knees hugged into your chest. Now wrap both hands around your right knee. Extend that left leg straight out. Release the left heel to the mat. Flex both toes, which means draw the toes back towards your face so that the toes ultimately point up towards the ceiling. Reach that left heel away from your body as you draw the right knee in towards your right shoulder. Just stay here for one breath. And exhale, switch. Draw the left knee into your chest. Extend the right leg straight out. Release the right heel to the mat. Flex both toes so they face up towards the ceiling. Extend out through that right heel. And draw that left knee in towards your left shoulder. Just stay for one breath. On your exhale, draw that right knee into your chest, and we're going to begin to move on our breath. So you re-extend that left leg out, left heel touches the mat. And then switch on your inhale, draw the left knee in, right leg extends. Exhale, we'll switch. And begin to move on your breath now. Each inhale and each exhale, you're switching which leg comes in towards your chest, and the opposite leg will straighten out. Use this as a time to begin to connect your breath to your movement. Very important in class. It's easy to lose control over the breath as you start moving or start focusing on other aspects where the breath can bring so much stability and awareness in our practice. Use this time to connect. Additionally, as you're moving from side to side, just bring some awareness to your low back. We're focusing on the core here. We're really focusing this week on lengthening that low back. We want to reduce the arch, so just see if you can notice and feel if that arch is a little too much in your back, and if you can draw the navel in and down towards that low spine to reduce the arch. Even out both sides, one more side each time. And then gently draw those knees back in towards your chest. Now with your knees hugged in, if you have a block or a firm pillow, go ahead and place that block in between your thighs. So with your knees up, place a block either on its central or its medium width, in between both thighs, just above the knees. If you have a firm pillow, you can place it there as well. If you don't have a prop to place in between your thighs, bring your knees together. Everyone is going to bring their feet together, but keep them flexed. Raise your shins up to level with the mat so they're parallel. And then extend both arms out to the side into either a T shape or a field goal pose, whatever your environment allows. Your palms can either be up or down. You can play around with it, see how that feels. But try to keep both shoulders on the mat. Now, just as we began practice when we gently rock from side to side, we're going to do the same thing here. We want to gently squeeze in that block. As you gently let your knees fall off to the left, you may only move an inch or two. Bring them back up to center and gently to the right. So again, the knees do not have to touch the ground. You may be only moving an inch or two as you raise one hip off the ground, moving from side to side. So again, you can gently move on your breath here, inhaling as you move from one side, and exhale as you move to the other. Try to keep both shoulders rooted as you do this. So if you're moving so far where your shoulder's coming up, try to reduce that. So if you're moving with the shoulders coming up, just reduce the amount that you're twisting here. And again, bring some awareness to that low back. Are you arching your spine in order to make this happen or go a little deeper? Try to reduce that. Hug that navel in and down. Draw the low back towards the ground. One more time, each side. And then gently draw the knees back into your chest. Release that block or pillow if you have it off to the side. Hug the knees in, one last squeeze here. And exhale, gently release. We're coming up to a comfortable cross-legged seat now, so you can meet me. Sometimes you can rock up and down your spine once or twice if you'd like, as you hold on to the back of your thighs, or you can just let your knees fall off to the side. Everyone is just going to meet in a comfortable cross-legged seated position. Now, in your cross-legged seat, if you ever feel like you're falling back or you need a little bit of help sitting up straight, you can always sit back on your block. You can roll up your mat. If you have a blanket, just anything to put underneath your sit bones to raise yourself up will help to keep a nice neutral spine and allow you to more easily sit up straight. To start with, just both palms on the knees. Take an inhale and exhale. Now again, we're bringing a lot of awareness into our low back, and that's because the low back area it's very vulnerable to injury and to excess strain, and has very limited rotational capacity there. So just to bring some awareness to that pelvis, which kind of connects to that low back, keep your hands on your knees. Try to keep your torso and your shoulders aligned and straight here. And we're gently just going to move the pelvis forward and back. So it takes a couple seconds to get into it. It's just an interesting movement here. And again, depending on what you're sitting on, it may feel a little bit different. But we're keeping the chest and the shoulders level, and we're gently rotating our pelvis forward and back. It may help to put your hands on your hips, and you can gently kind of move your pelvis forward and back. You can think of your pelvis as like a bowl of water where you're letting it come forward, that water can tip out, and then when you let it come back, the water tips out behind you. Just kind of play around with that and get comfortable. And gently start to slow and find just that balance point in between coming forward and back with your pelvis. Replace your palms back on your knees. Root down through your sit bones, rise up through the crown of your head, create a nice long spine. Take an inhale here, and exhale. Now bring your arms straight out in front of you, shoulder height. Bend your wrists, and then bring your index finger and your thumbs together so that you make this kind of triangle heart shape. You might be able to see a little easier with the contrast of my shirt here. So the palms are facing away, and you bring the tips of your index and your thumb together. Now inhale as you raise your arms overhead, keep those wrists bent, and exhale, release back down to shoulder height. Inhale, arms overhead, and exhale, release. 2 more times. Inhale, overhead. Exhale, gently release. Inhale, overhead, and exhale back to shoulder height. Now release your arms down to the sides. And extend the arms up overhead this time. Come back into your finger and your thumb touching that same where we were before. So palms are facing up towards the ceiling. I'm going to add a side lean here. So root down through both sit bones. Before we lean, make sure both sit bones stay rooted. You don't want to raise one up to extend a little bit farther. So keep lengthening up, extending those arms up in the air. And exhale as you gently lean over your right side. Create some length in the right side of the body. Again, if you're leaning so much that that sit bone comes up, just reduce the amount that you're leaning. Root down. And let's inhale back up to center. And exhale, lean to the left this time. Again, root down through both sit bones. You might feel it a little bit in your arms with keeping those wrists bent. I know, I feel it a little bit. Let's lift up back up to center. One more lean each side. So we're going to lean over the right side. Try to keep your shoulders both facing forward, not adding a twist here yet. And inhale back to center. And exhale as we lean to the left. And create length in both sides of your body. One more inhale here. And exhale. Let's inhale back to center. Release the arms down to your sides. Place the palms on your knees. Now we're going to add a twist here, and again, with our core and that lumbar spine, we have very limited rotational capacity. So we want to initiate the twist kind of from the navel up where our thoracic spine starts, because we have a lot more rotational capacity there. So let's inhale as we bring the arms up overhead, palms touch each other this time. Now exhale as you twist from the navel up, turn to your right, over your right thigh, and release both arms down. Now keep that left arm on the outside edge of that left knee, and the right arm comes behind. Maybe you walk it behind a little bit more. Stay up on those right fingertips. You can gently press that left palm into that right knee to just deepen your twist here. You can inhale as you lengthen. Exhale, maybe you twist a little bit more. Have your neck be the last thing that you twist as you look over that right shoulder. Stay for one more inhale here. And exhale, gently release back to center. Both arms up overhead, palms touch. Let's exhale as we twist to the left this time. Again, from the navel up, release both arms down to the outside edge of that left thigh. Right arm to the outside of the left knee. You begin to walk those left fingertips back slightly. And keep rooting down. Inhale as you lengthen. Exhale, twist from that navel up. Your neck can be the last thing to turn as you look over those left shoulders. Stay for one more breath. And exhale, gently release back to center. Both arms overhead, palms touch. And exhale, hands down to the center of your chest and down to the sides. We're going to come into tabletop pose now. You can place your hands in front of you, roll over your knees, or again, you can just let your legs fall out to the side. And meet me in tabletop. So in our tabletop, our hands are below our shoulders, our knees are below or beneath our hips, tops of the feet to the mat. We're creating some nice 90-degree angles here. Make sure your wrist creases are lined up with the short edge of the mat, or they're slightly turned out. Fingers are extending away from the palms. Create some nice length, and you're gently pressing down through the base of each finger in each palm. Begin with a nice neutral spine. So just like when we were on our backs, we hug the navel in and down. This time we're hugging the navel in and up. That's going to start to engage those core muscles a little bit. Just take an inhale here. And exhale. Add our cow-cats to this. So inhale as we drop the navel, tailbone up, heart forward, look up. Exhale, round the back, shoulders separate, head hangs heavy in your cat. Reversing that, inhale, arch the back, tailbone up, heart forward, look up, cow. And exhale, round the back into cat. Just keep going on your breath. Make this just nice, mindful, and slow. Again, another opportunity to connect your breath to movement. When we get into more of those advanced postures, it's, again, really easy to lose track of our breath. And that is really the compass that helps us to realize where we need to lengthen more or focus more. And so always coming back to your breath will really help give you that guidance to work through your practice. Just do one more cow and one more cat. And meet me back in a nice neutral spine. Now from here, we're going to add our arm and our leg raises. So begin by extending the right leg back. Keep the toes curled under and the toes on the mat, but press that right heel back. So you're keeping the legs straight, but the toes are on the mat. Extend the left arm forward, left palm faces in. Try to keep that left arm up at shoulder height. We're here just for a breath. And exhale, gently release that left arm down. Right knee comes back down. We'll switch to the other side. So curl the left toes under, extend and straighten the left leg back while keeping the left toes on the ground. And extend that right arm forward, right palm faces in. Gently press back through that left heel for one breath. And exhale, gently release that knee to the right. We'll do one more time each side. So we'll recurl those right toes under, extend that right leg back, press back through the right heel. Extend the left arm forward, left palm faces in. Again, hug that navel in and up. Try to create length and extend from that right heel through that left fingertips. One more breath. And exhale, gently release. Switching to the other side, recurl the left toes under, extend and straighten that left leg back. Right arm comes forward. Again, hug the navel in and up. Extend from that left heel out through those right fingertips. One more breath here. And exhale, gently release back down into your tabletop. This time, bring the big toes together. Separate the knees a little bit wider, and then gently sit your hips back towards your heels in your child's pose. Now, if you ever have any issues sitting your hips back towards your heels and you want a little elevation, you can place your block. You can place a couple pillows back there. Your arms will stay out in front of you, forearms come down, resting your forehead to the mat, or you can rest it onto a block. Now, if this child's pose doesn't quite work for you on either of those variations, you can always come back on your back and hug your knees into your chest. This should be a nice restorative pose here where you're still feeling a little bit of a stretch in your back. Just stay for a couple breaths here, deepen your breaths. Child's pose is always a pose you can come back to in your practice if you need a little bit of a breather or you need to just recenter yourself before continuing. So just remember this position here. One more breath. Okay, we're staying in child's pose, but we're going to add a little bit of a lean and potentially a twist. So just raise your forehead up off the mat and tent up on your fingertips so that your forearms are now off the mat. And now walk your fingertips over to the right side of your mat. From here, you can release both palms and both forearms down, and then re-release your forehead to the mat. Again, try to keep that left hip down. Try not to let it rise up too much. If it is, you may need to reduce how much you're leaning over. But just how when we were sitting and we're leaning, we're just adding a gentle side lean here. The option is to stay here, or if you'd like to add a twist, you can extend the right arm out, rotate the right palm back and up so that the right palm faces up, bend that right elbow and place it on your lower back. So the back of the right hand is on the lower back. And again, you can stay here, or option, just gently twist from the navel up, rest the left side of your head on your left arm, and you look up towards the ceiling. Adding a little twist here in our child's pose. Stay for one more breath wherever you are. And exhale, gently release that right arm forward again if it's behind you. Tent up on those fingertips, raise your forehead up, and let's walk over to the left side of the mat. So walk those fingertips over to the left side, release both arms down, release your forehead down. Option to stay here if this is enough for you, that's fine. If you'd like, tent up on those left fingertips, extend the left arm out to the side. Rotate that left arm so the left palm faces up. Bend the left elbow, place the back of the left hand on that low back. Again, option to stay here, or if you'd like, add a slight twist, twisting from the navel up, resting the right side of your head on that right bicep, and you look up towards the ceiling. Just stay for one more breath wherever you are. And exhale, gently release that left arm forward. Just walk your fingers back into center. Raise your forehead and your hips up off the mat. Come back into tabletop for a moment here. But this time in your tabletop, we're going to curl our toes under, lift our hips up and back, and come into our first downward facing dog. Knees can bend. It's our first downward facing dog, so you can take it for a walk. Maybe you lift one heel and lift the other. If downward facing dog is too much for you, you can always drop down to your knees, and you can also walk your dog out here on your knees. Whatever works for you today. Just make sure your hands are shoulder width distance, feet are hips width distance. If you're in your down dog, press your chest back towards your thighs. Just take another moment or two to walk your legs out. Warm up the backs of those legs. One more inhale. And exhale. Now let's inhale as we gaze forward. Exhale, walk or step to the top of the mat. Stay in your forward fold. Feet are hips width distance. Knees can bend. Let your arm and your head hang heavy. And then grab opposite elbows with opposite hands.
Let your head hang heavy in between both arms, coming into Ragdoll Pose here. You're still gently pressing down through all four sides of your feet, and spinning your inner thighs in and back, keeping your knees hip-width distance over your ankles. Again, knees can bend as much as you'd like. Maybe you rest your chest on your thighs. And you can stay still here if you like to rock left and right slightly. I can sometimes ease up that lower back a little bit more. And gently rock from side to side. I'll come back to stillness. Release both arms down. Press your feet into the mat. We're gently going to roll up to standing. Just come up slowly, one vertebrae at a time. So your head and your arms hang heavy. As you gently begin to roll up, straighten your legs, rolling up one vertebrae at a time. And you're meeting me up here. Once you're standing, you can roll your shoulders up and back a couple times. And meet me at the top of your mat if you're not already there. Your feet are still hips-width distance. Heels behind those center toes, arms down to the sides. Take an inhale. And exhale. And again, reinforcing that idea of lengthening our low back, try to draw the tailbone down towards your heels. A lot of us have a tendency, especially when we're sitting, to have this anterior tilt of that lower spine to where it dumps forward, and we want to correct that by trying to draw the tailbone down to create a nice neutral spine. Just stay for one more breath here in your Tadasana mountain pose. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. One more breath. And exhale. Now let's inhale the arms up overhead, palms touch, look up. Exhale, hinge forward, forward fold, knees can bend. Inhale, halfway lift, place your hands to the shins, nice flat back. And exhale, forward fold, knees bend. Press your feet into the mat, coming back up to stand. Inhale, arms out and up, overhead, palms touch, look up. Exhale, hands to the center of your chest and down to the sides. Let's repeat that. Inhale, arms up, overhead, palms touch, look up. Exhale, hinge forward, forward fold, knees can bend. Inhale, halfway lift, place your hands to the tops of your shins, extend through all sides of your torso. And exhale, rebend the knees, forward fold. Press your feet into the mat. Inhale, arms out and up, overhead, palms touch, look up. Exhale, hands down to the center of your chest and down to the sides. Now we'll build off of that. So let's inhale the arms up overhead, palms touch, look up. Exhale, forward fold, hinge forward. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to the shins, nice flat back. And exhale, forward fold. This time place your palms on the mat, shoulder width distance. Bend your knees as much as you need to make that happen. And then keep your left foot forward as you extend your right leg back. Drop that right knee to the mat. Uncurl the right toes so the tops of the feet, tops of the right toes come to the mat. And you're in this low lunge position here. Make sure your right knee is back farther behind your hip. You don't want it directly underneath your hip. You want it farther behind. And keep your left knee tracking over directly that left ankle. Now place your right hand below your right shoulder, either on a block if you need a little bit of elevation, or you can place it on your fingertips, or your palm can come to the mat. Either way, just root your hand down. And now we're going to twist from the navel up over the left side, over our left knee, and then lift the left arm up towards the ceiling. Left palm faces forward. So we're adding a nice easy twist here. Well, it's called easy twist, but it's not always easy. Gently hugging the legs in towards each other. Keep drawing the tailbone down towards the heels. Stay for one more breath here in your twist. Try to stack those shoulders. And exhale, gently release that left palm down to the outside edge of that left foot. Recurl those back right toes and step the right foot up to meet the left foot. We'll switch and we'll step the left leg back this time. Release the left knee down to the mat. Uncurl the left toes so the tops of the left feet come to the ground.
And again, release that left arm down directly underneath the left shoulder. If you want to use a block, you can place your palm on that block, or you can use your fingertips or your palm to root down. Hug both legs into the midline, and then inhale, twist from your navel up as you rotate up and bring that right arm up towards the ceiling. Try to stack the shoulders on top of each other, right palm faces forward. We're here for 2 breaths in our easy twist. Just one more breath. Keep that right knee tracking over that right ankle. And exhale, gently release that right arm down. Curl those left toes under. Step the left leg up to meet the right foot. Now inhale, halfway lift. Bring your hands to the shins, nice flat back. And exhale, forward fold, knees bend. Press your feet into the mat. Inhale, arms out and up, overhead, palms touch. And exhale, hands down to the center of your chest and down to the sides. All right, getting nice and warmed up here. Now make sure your feet are still hips width distance. We'll add a little balancing side lean here while standing. So feet are hips width distance, heels are behind the center toes, so the feet are nice and parallel. Now inhale, arms up and overhead, palms touch. Now stay here for a moment. And actually, with your hands up, I'm just bringing my hands down so you can see me. Clasp your fingers together, and then raise your palms up towards the air. Don't worry if your arms can't come directly over your head. If they're a little farther forward, that's fine. Just have your fingers clasped and your palms facing out and up. And just raise your straight arms up as much as you can. Just soften the shoulders away from the ears. And now we'll add our side lean. So now we're gently going to lean over to the right, pressing down through that right foot and creating length in both sides of the body. Stay for one breath here. And exhale, gently come back up to center. Let's switch the clasps of your hands. So whichever thumb is on top, now switch that. And then re-extend your arms up in the air. Soften the shoulders away from the ears and gently lean over your left side this time. You're pressing that left heel into the mat and extending both sides of the torso, creating length here. One more breath. Let's inhale back to center. Release your arms down to the center of your chest and down to the sides. Okay, go back to the top of the mat if you're not already there. This time bring your feet into touch, so the big toes will touch and the heels of your feet will separate out maybe about an inch. Coming into our chair pose, we're going to bend our knees, arms come forward, palms face each other, send our hips back. Make sure you can peek down and see your toes. If your knees are still hiding your toes, you need to shift your hips back slightly. Create a nice neutral spine. Again, we're not trying to arch or round our back here. We're trying to keep it nice and neutral. Extend the arms up, keep them nice and straight. Palms face each other. One more breath here. And exhale, gently forward fold with your knees bent, feet together. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to the tops of the shins, nice flat back. And exhale, forward fold. Place both hands onto the mat. Step your right leg back, step your left leg back, and drop your knees to the ground. We're in our modified plank pose here. Keeping your shoulders over your wrists. We're going to stay here for a couple breaths. If you'd like to, you can curl those toes under and lift back up into your full plank. Otherwise, just stay on your knees. We're here for 2 more breaths here in our plank pose. Either option that you're choosing, try to draw that tailbone down toward your heels to reduce that arch in your spine. And again, create nice length in that lower lumbar area. Just one more breath here. And exhale. Now, bring the big toes to touch the feet to the ground, and then shift your hips back towards your heels. Come into that child's pose again. And just another opportunity to reconnect back to your breath. Release your forehead to the mat if you can. Keep your arms out in front of you, but let your shoulders hang heavy. Soften them away from your ears. Take a breath here. And exhale. Now lift your hips back up so that your shoulders are over your wrists.
And make sure that your knees are still farther behind your hips. So we're not in a tabletop, we're in our knee down plank pose. So everyone's here. Now you're going to kickstand the left leg off to the side. So it looks like a kickstand, so the left knee stays where it is, but the left foot comes off to the side. Curl the right toes under, extend that right heel back just as we've done before. But then release the right heel down so that the right toes face the right side of your mat. And then bring your hand to your right hip and start to twist and align the right shoulder on top of your left, opening up into our side plank here. Now, option to keep that arm here, or you can raise it up overhead, palm faces forward. And last option is extend that arm overhead, create some nice length, pressing down through that outer edge of that right foot, extending out through those right fingertips. Just stay for one more breath in your side plank. And exhale, gently release that right hand back down. Release that right knee down. Recenter yourself back in your modified plank pose with your knees down. We'll switch to the other side. So keep your right knee where it is. And kickstand that right foot out to the side. Keep those right toes down. This gives you stability here. Recurl those left toes under, extend and straighten that left leg back. We've been here before. And then drop that left heel down. Now begin to roll over, bring that left arm to that left hip, stack the shoulders over each other. Option to stay here, or you can bring your arm up overhead, palm faces forward. And last option, extend that left arm overhead. Lift those hips up, don't sag into those hips, lift them up. Keep pressing down through that left outer foot. One more breath here. And exhale, gently release the same way you came in. Left hand down, left knee comes back to meet the right. This time, recurl those toes under. Lift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. We're here just for a breath. Again, always have the option to drop to your knees and stay in tabletop. Inhale as you gaze forward. Bend the knees, exhale, walk or step to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to the shins, nice flat back. And exhale, forward fold. Bend the knees, send the hips back, inhale the arms forward. Come back into your chair pose. We're staying here for a breath. And exhale, straighten the legs, arms to the center of your, hands to the center of your chest, and arms down to the side. Just take a breath here. And exhale. Now face the long edge of your mat and come to a wide-legged stance. Feet are starting nice and parallel, just as they do at the top of the mat. So the heels are behind those center toes, nice and parallel. Now bring your hands to your hips. Now starting with the feet parallel, we're now going to rotate our heels in and our toes are going to face out. So we're coming into about like a 45-degree angle for each toe. Now before we sit down into our goddess pose, just bring some awareness to that low back. Are you already arching and sending that heart forward? Do you feel your pelvis dumping water forward? See if you can correct that. Draw your tailbone down. Recenter your pelvis so that it holds that water in that bowl nice and centered here. Now, once you're here, start to bend the knees. Make sure the knees track outward and they don't fall in. Make sure they're tracking outward. And just gently start to lower your hips. Just lowering to your capacity, so you may be a little bit lower, a little bit higher. But again, we're trying not to arch that back, so hug that navel in and back to recenter your pelvis here. Keep those knees tracking over those right ankles. Staying for one more breath here in our goddess pose. And inhale, straighten the legs. Stay here for a moment. Now you have the option to repeat that. Otherwise, extend the arms out to the sides, palms face down. Take an inhale, again, draw that tailbone down towards the heels, towards the floor. And exhale, rebend those knees, send your hips down. Sometimes our arms are out to the sides. Again, if this is too much, just bring your arms back to your hips. Staying for one more breath here in our goddess. And inhale, re-straighten the legs. Now this time, everyone release your hands down to your thighs and have your thumbs on the inside edge
and the rest of your fingers towards the outside edge. Now rebend your knees, let your hands fall, but keep them on your thighs. We'll add a twist here, so you should be nice and stable with your arms nice and straight, but don't dump into your shoulders. So still create length and draw those shoulders away from your ears. Now inhale as you lengthen, we're going to add a twist. So exhale, drop your left shoulder down, twist from the navel up, and maybe the gaze looks up over that right shoulder. Inhale back to center. And other side, exhale, release the right shoulder down, look over that left shoulder. This is always when my low back starts to crack a little bit. Let's inhale back to center. Twist one more time each side. Drop the left shoulder down, look up over that right shoulder. Inhale back to center. And exhale, drop the right shoulder, look up over that left shoulder, maybe up towards the ceiling. Now inhale back to center. Straighten both legs, bring your hands to your hips. And let's heel toe those feet back into hips width distance. Alright, come back to the top of your mat. Meet me at the top with your feet together again, toes touching, heels apart. Now inhale as you sit your hips back, knees bend, arms come forward, back into your chair pose. I'm going to add a twist to this, so bring your palms to the center of your chest, palms together. Inhale as you lengthen, and exhale, twist from the navel up to your right. Now you have the option to stay here, or if you'd like, you can lower and place the outside edge of that left elbow to the outer edge of that right knee. That's a little bit more advanced, so just wherever you are, you still want to hug that left thigh back. Most likely it came forward, so we're trying to keep our pelvis neutral here. Just stay for one more breath in your twist. And exhale, come back to center, stay in your chair pose. I know it's tough. Inhale as you lengthen, and exhale, we'll twist to our left this time. Again, twisting from the navel up. Send that right hip back if it came forward. Again, by keeping the pelvis neutral and both hips squared forward, we reduce the rotation in that lumbar spine. Just one more breath here. And exhale, gently come back to center. Forward fold, knees can bend, arms down. Now inhale, halfway lift, hands to the shins, nice flat back. And exhale, forward fold, place your palms down. Step your right leg back, step your left leg back. Drop your knees to the ground. Uncurl those toes so the tops of the feet come to the mat. Separate your knees and send your hips back toward your heels. Come into your child's pose again. Just make it your child's pose. Resting your forehead to the mat or to a block. Just stay for a couple breaths here. Just one more breath in your child's pose. Now inhale as you lift your hips back up. Now come into our tabletop where we were before. So make sure your wrists are underneath your shoulders and your knees are directly underneath your hips. So we've been playing around with this either in our modified plank when our knees are behind our hips, but this time in your tabletop, have your knees directly underneath your hips, tops of the feet to the mat. Now, at the beginning of practice, we did our arm and leg lifts, and we kept our feet on the ground when we extended back. So we now have the option to lift our legs in the air. The pose looks easier than it actually is, but if it's a little too difficult for you, just keep your leg on the ground. You just have the option now of raising it in the air. So begin by extending that right leg back, and again, bring that right leg up to hip height this time. Flex those right toes so they face down towards the mat, and extend that left arm forward, left palm faces in. Now we're staying here for a couple breaths, and it can be tricky. Again, this looks easier than it actually is. But as you start to hug your navel in and up, engaging those abdominal muscles, soften the shoulders away from the ears. Press out through that right heel and extend out through those left fingertips. Again, if you need to, drop those right toes to the mat. We're here for one more breath. And exhale, gently release that left hand down, right knee down. Let's come back to a nice neutral spine here, and we'll switch now. Extend the left leg back. Keep that left foot up at hip height if you can. Otherwise, left
Toes come back down to the mat. Right arm forward, right palm faces in. You can press back through that left heel, extend out through those right fingertips. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. Hug the navel in and up to make sure you're not dumping into that spine. And draw that tailbone back towards that left heel. Stay for 2 breaths here. And it always looks easier than it actually is. But you know if you're doing it right, you may start to sweat, you may start to shake. That's okay. Last breath here. And exhale, release that right arm down, left knee down. Bring those back toes to touch. Knees separate and send your hips back towards your heels again. Come into your child's pose again. Rest your forehead to the mat. Make fists with your fingers with both hands. In your child's pose, just gently rotate your wrists. It's always good to take care of the wrist in our pose. In our practice, I should say. Gently switch directions in those rotations if you've just been going one way. Okay, you can release those fists, palms to the mat. Shift your hips up off your heels, raise your head up, and then come to sit. Send your legs out to the side. And have your legs out in front of you with your knees bent. Feet to the mat. Now arms hang either around your thighs or around your shins. We're gently going to lower onto our backs, but we're going to take our time. We're really going to feel it in our core here. So I'm going to count down. We're going to lower as I count. So wrap your hands around your thighs or your shins. And now here we go. Start to lower back. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Gently release everything. Back of the head, low back. Walk your feet back in towards your heels. And with your heels underneath your knees, now heel toe your feet out to the width of your mat. And let your knees fall into touch. We'll stay in this constructive pose for a couple breaths. And we did a lot of abdominal focus work today, and what really helps to wind down our practice is to stretch those abdominal muscles. So we'll do that as we start to wind down. So heel toe the feet back to hips width distance. Separate the knees hips width distance so knees should track directly over the ankles. Arms down to the side. We'll come into bridge pose. So press the feet down into the mat. Spin the inner thighs in and down, and inhale as you lift your hips up, pelvis up, chest up into your bridge pose. Send your chin away from your chest and your chest towards your chin. Maybe lift a little bit higher. Your knees have a tendency to fall out, so spin those inner thighs in and down to keep those knees hips width distance. Just gently press your shoulders into the mat. Maybe you can roll your shoulders under. You can stay here. One more breath. And exhale, gently release your shoulders. Roll down from the top of your spine. Low back is the last to arrive. Now heel toe your feet back out to hips width it, back out to the width of your mat. So heel toe your feet wide to the width of your mat. Let your feet fall into touch. And just gently rest your arms down to your sides. This time we'll rock the knees side to side. So gently start to rock the knees side to side. This helps to release any last little bit of tension in that low back. And come back to stillness. With your knees centered, heel toe your feet back to hips width distance. Separate your knees to hips width. We'll come into that pose that we were in at the beginning of practice where we had the block or firm pillow in between the thighs. So again, if you have that block or pillow, place it in between the thighs. Arms out to the side, either palms face up or down. And this time raise the shins up parallel. And this time exhale as you gently let your knees fall off to the left side. This time you can let your knees touch. but keep that right shoulder on the mat. So if you need to lift your knees up to keep that right shoulder on the mat, it's better to do that. You can always, if you have another block, you can place it underneath the knees or another pillow or anything. But if you can keep that right shoulder down, it's great. Full spinal twist here. Your gaze can be up towards the ceiling or turn your neck to look over those right fingertips. Stay for one more breath. And exhale. Gaze comes back up to center. Release the knees back up to center. Release the feet down onto the mat for a moment. Recenter your hips if you need to. Arms are still out to the sides. And again, lift those knees back up. Shins are parallel to the mat. Feet off the ground. And gently let your knees fall off to the right side this time. And keep that left shoulder on the mat if you can. And gaze can be up towards the ceiling or look over those left fingertips. We're here for 2 breaths in our full spinal twist. Just one more breath. Now gaze comes back up towards the ceiling. Lift those knees back up. Release the feet to the mat. And just set your block off to the side. Let's hug our knees into our chest, wrap our hands around our shins, and just gently rock from side to side. Maybe you close your eyes as you rock from side to side and just give a gentle thanks to your lower back here. It's always good to be grateful for what we have and the capabilities and the mobility we have now. So these practice really help to just bring awareness to that area. Really strengthen it as the core part. It connects the rest of our body together, the top half to the bottom half. And gently come back to stillness. Keep hugging your knees into your chest. Raise your shoulders and your head off the mat. Come into a nice egg shape here as you fully squeeze your body in towards each other. Just stay one more breath. And exhale, gently release the back of your head and your shoulders to the mat. Extend the legs forward. Extend the arms overhead. Point the toes away from your body. Extend the fingertips away from your body. Give one last full body stretch here. Extend away from the fingertips, away from the toes. And exhale, gently release. Extend your arms down to the sides, palms face up. Let the knees and the feet relax and fall off to the sides. Come into our Shavasana pose, our final pose of the practice today. Shavasana is a time to release any bit of tension you may have in your body, or release any control you may have over your breath. Just be. Your eyes can gently soften or your gaze can close completely. Just let your body hang heavy and melt into the mat here.
Begin to bring some awareness back into your body. You can wiggle your fingers and your toes. Rotate your wrists and your ankles. Switch directions in those rotations. And gently come back to stillness for one last breath here on your back. Now gently start to bend your knees, keep your feet on the mat, and gently roll over to one side of your body. Let your top arm come over and rest on your bottom, and your top knee rest on your bottom knee. Stay for one breath here on your side. Try to keep your eyes softened or your gaze closed as you now use your top arm to press yourself up to a comfortable cross-legged seated position to complete your practice tonight. Once you're in your comfortable cross-legged seated position, palms can either rest on top of your knees, palms face up, or bring your hands into the center of your chest. Let's take a deep inhale together and exhale. Thank you for joining me in practice today. The light and love in me acknowledges and honors the light and love in each one of you. Thank you. Peace. Thank you all so much for joining me for practice this evening. I hope you enjoyed kind of getting your core warmed up a little bit, just bringing some more awareness to that low back. It's such a sensitive, potentially injury-prone area if we don't have the right awareness in there. And so by taking the time today, you did something to really take care of yourself. So you should be very grateful for that. And I'm very grateful for you joining me for your practice today. Our classes for the rest of the week, Wednesday will be at 7 p.m. That'll be level 1, and Friday at 7 p.m. will be level 2. If you ever have any questions, you can always let me know. Leave it in the chat or leave me any comments. All my info is in the video description if you'd like to reach me. Donation link is in the description as well. I want to thank you again so much. Again, my name is Daniel with Daniel Lee Yoga. Please take how you feel tonight and just send it out in the world. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. See you next time in practice. Peace.